Welcome, everyone. This is Responseception. Today I am covering Delete Law's review of the Governor of Montana's recent speech. Well, it really isn't a review. It's more like his extremely biased opinions that permeate everything he sees. I urge you to listen to what the governor is talking about, and then see how Chile turns it into something completely different. I like to think of this as how Chile's campaign will go should he be able to run for governor of any state he has no warrants in or been run out of. Oh, before I continue, make sure to have at least level 10 facepalm protection. I do not assume any liability to any damages to body or property.
So I'm going to stop this a few times and I'm going to talk about this. I want you guys to really listen to what this copper is saying. This is pretty egregious, pretty disgusting. So he surrounds himself with pigs, and then I want you to listen to what he's going to say about, and then I'll show you how he's just completely blind, tone deaf, and he must be illiterate.
Hark! I hear the envious whining of a 20-year constitutional law scholar educated by Google and YouTube toward a man who actually made a success of his life and became the governor of Montana.
And I'm here today with the leaders who share that mission. Attorney General Austin Knudsen. And I'm here today with the leaders who share that mission. Attorney General Austin Knudsen, thank you for joining us. Montana Highway Patrol Colonel Steve Lavin, thank you. And Lee Johnson, Investigations Bureau Chief for the Division of Criminal Investigation. Thank you, Lee. Also, I'm proud to be here with 5 Montana Highway Patrol troopers who serve our state sacrificially. Each of these troopers put their lives on the line each and every day to protect our communities. And I speak for all Montanans when I say we back the blue.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You absolutely do not speak for all Montanans when you say that we back the blue. No, you don't. Scumbag, pig, fraud. Let me show you. Let me show you. I'm going to come back to that video, but let me just show you. So I'm saying these things that we don't all back the blue. We don't. Matter of fact, just so you know, if you really want to understand, I'll show you the actual numbers. Let me show you the numbers of people who do not back the blue. America's less confident in police than ever before. Take a look at the numbers. So this is what they're just saying. Confidence in the quality of law enforcement. See, that's the whole problem. Media, stop calling them law enforcement. Mainstream media, stop calling them law enforcement. They're not. They're peace officers. Has dropped among surveyed Americans following Tyree Nichols' fatal beating, according to the new poll conducted by the Washington Post and ABC. A national trend of declining trust in police has been tracking up for years. For years. The ABC poll, which surveyed over 1,000 U.S. adults between January 27th and February 1st, finds only 39% of those surveyed are confident in police, and police are properly trained to use excessive force. This is the lowest level of confidence in police training in the ABC poll has ever recorded, down 5% from 2021 and 15% from 2014. A 2022 Gallup poll found that 45% of surveyed American adults are confident in the police, down 3% from the previous of 48% following the murder of George Floyd. So Greg, it looks like you're full of crap. It looks like you're full of crap. You don't speak for all Montanans. 50% of Montanans don't trust those pigs you're surrounded yourself with. But this is what we get in America. This is what we get. You just saw it. A guy gets up there and says, we back the blue. Who's we? You got a turd in your pocket? You and your turd back the blue? Because for the most part, we don't back the blue. We don't like the cops. And so what they do is they arrest people, charge them with felonies, and then they can't vote to get rid of the horrible leader that Greg Gianforte is. And by the way, I'm going to break down his biography in just 1 second. But you got to keep listening. This guy cop sucks all the way. I mean, he's got his lips all the way around that cop stick, and he is just sucking, bro.
Chili has this obsessive preoccupation with butts and cop sucking. Methinks he doth protest too much. Anyway, quoting polls means absolutely nothing. The polls are only a small sampling of people, and their results depend on the demographics of where those people live. They do not speak to the U.S. as a whole.
They need and deserve our support now more than ever before.
Oh, they need and deserve our support now more than ever, because we can see on video that cops are scum. Now we need to support them ever more than before. No, confidence is going like this, Gregor. It's going like this, buddy. You're a scumbag, bro. I hope you lose your re-election because of this. He's such a scumbag piece of shit. Like, just listening to this guy talk.
Confession by projection.
Recently has threatened the lives of law enforcement officers and Montanans alike.
What a lie. What an absolute lie. And it's too damn bad. It's too damn bad we don't get to see the headlines of that. Because you know what's going to happen in our country if pieces of shit like Greg continue to push cops? There's going to be a civil war. Because I'm not accepting going to live in a dungeon. I haven't done anything wrong to ever live in a dungeon. I do not accept being locked into a dungeon. I do not accept it. And pretty soon, you filthy pigs are going to arrest the wrong person, and you're going to end up in a civil war. And this filthy scumbag, Greg Gianforte, law enforcement's in danger. What a bullshit lie. You are such a lying scumbag. Law enforcement is not in danger. We are. We're in danger. They're creating a military base for cops in Atlanta called Cop City. We've got to stop it.
Cop City is what some activists are calling it, not what the police department is calling it. It is a new training facility on land already occupied by the Atlanta Police Department. Oh, and we get it. Chili rails against the police and blames them and anyone that supports them with absolute contempt for what they made him do. As if they made Chili manufacture and distribute GHB so they could no-knock raid him twice, arrest and charge him with 5 felonies, and make him accept guilt by taking a drug diversion program instead of going to the dungeon. And they make him hate laws that affect him and make him act like an asshole when talking to them.
Why don't you go see a psychiatrist?
I already have. He kicked me out of his office.
A recent string of shootings directed at law enforcement officers in Billings, St. Regis, and Great Falls bear this out.
So why do you think that's happening? If there's shootings in 3 different cities in Montana, why do you think that's happening? And this guy in Montana is going to pack Montana with more pigs? Montanans, I hope you guys stand up. I hope you guys stand up. I mean, Montanans, I hope you guys stand up. Like, I can't even get my head around it. Like, I can't even understand how this guy sits up here and says, our cops are in danger. We need more pigs. Just wait. You're going to hear him say that right now. He's going to say, we're hiring a bunch more pigs, more prosecutors to lock up more people. Why not say you're going to build more prisons and jails, Greg?
He has been caught in yet another lie. He claims police aren't in danger. He also claims we don't get to see the headlines of that, and then asks why that is happening, which I am sure he will tell us with some biased anti-police BS, of course. Oh, and funny how the governor cited 3 recent instances, and a quick Google search brought me to an article on greatfallsmt.net, which I have linked below. On March 7, 2023, at approximately 3:50 p.m., a Great Falls police officer initiated a traffic stop in the area of 17th Street and 13th Avenue South. The vehicle failed to yield to the officer. The officer did not pursue the vehicle. A few minutes later, a second officer saw the suspect vehicle near 1400 block of 6th Avenue South, where the suspects abandoned the vehicle and fled on foot. It appeared there were 2 occupants in the vehicle. A third officer located the two occupants of the suspect vehicle near 12th Street and 5th Avenue South. The male suspect ran and the officer pursued the suspect on foot. After a short distance, the suspect turned and fired several rounds at the officer. The officer was hit and seriously injured. Officers on scene performed tactical medical procedures. One of the officers transported the injured officer to the hospital in a patrol car. The suspect fled the immediate area of the shooting, but within a block was confronted by another Great Falls police officer. Several shots were fired at this location and the suspect was seriously wounded. The suspect was transported to the hospital by ambulance. There is more to the article, but again, I have linked it below if you would like to read it. To hear Chili tell it, that was all four officers' fault for one officer stopping the guy, him running from them because no victim, no crime, the second officer locating the occupied vehicle, the third officer who chose to run after the suspect who chose to fire a weapon at the officer who apparently chose to get shot for pursuing the suspect, and yet a fourth officer who found the suspect after he fled again and chose to get into a gunfight with him, resulting in the suspect getting shot. In Chili's world, there would only be laws that he approves of. Transparency officers who are glorified tripods with two entities, one in each ear, telling them what to do, and no dungeons, just buses with rehabilitation centers in them.
And tragically, the murder rate in Billings doubled in 2022 and is the second highest of the past decade, trailing only the 2020 pandemic year.
Okay, so here's the part that politicians, just for some reason, they can't put things together. Maybe the brand of policing, the brand of rights protectors, peace officers, who call themselves law enforcement, and they're infatuated with being called enforcers, maybe that brand is dead. Maybe it's the brand that you guys are pushing on people that's making people more violent. Because I'm telling you now, I'm not living in a dungeon. And if I go to a dungeon, when I get out of the dungeon, it's going to be bad. I'm not going to live in a dungeon. You're not locking me up because I want my rights. And if you do, well, then fine. Then you know what? I'm a leader. I will lead and I will change this system. And if it has to be the way it has to be, I'm telling you all, I'm warning you all, this country, it's not me. I didn't do this. The cops of this country and the politicians of this country have created this bullshit system. It's going to go to a civil war. You're going to arrest the wrong leader, the wrong person. And you know what's going to happen? You think cops are being shot at in those 3 towns in Montana? It's going to get worse. You keep putting cops on top of us versus them, Cop City, where they get to train militaristically to arrest us in a POW style, where they then tell us to look down at the ground. You can't look left. You can't look right. I can't look left or right. I can't look to my left or right. You want total dominion over everything I do? It's going to go to a civil war. It's just when it happens because of politicians like Greg Gianforte.
This is the future wannabe governor of a state he has no warrants in, folks. While I agree that the way policing is done needs to change, especially in these tumultuous times, I don't agree that people who break the law should not be held accountable. However, police and jails serve a purpose: to keep order from chaos. And let's face it, Chili has changed nothing so far with his bullying, my way or the highway litigious tactics.
Unfortunately, violent crime is not unique to our communities. It's rising across the entire country.
Yes, cops abuse us and hurt us and beat us and kick us on camera every day. And when people see abusive behavior, they mimic it. Anything you see on camera will be mimicked. It will be repeated. We are seeing the violent thug pigs that these guys are, and it's being repeated in society. The reason we have a violent, horrible society is because of police, because of law enforcers in our country.
Hey, y'all. So today's card of the day is the pot calling the kettle black. It's time for us to kind of examine our own feelings about certain things and not really place blame on others, because we really are projecting our feelings.
Yes, Chili, it's not that some people get off on being crappy humans to others and want to kill or hurt them. No, it's all the fault of law enforcement.
Its impacts are far-reaching on children, on families, and on our communities.
He doesn't care when someone gets ripped from their car in front of their children, and they're screaming, "Sir, please, why are you doing this? No, sir, you don't have a driver's license. Sir, please stop hitting me. Yeah, why are you hitting my daddy? Why are you hitting my daddy?" He has no problem with that, but he wants to add more cops for the children.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Guess what, Chili? If you don't comply when stopped for a traffic violation, they will take you out of your car. And those who happen to have their kids in the car when that happens, put their kids in that position. They didn't think about their own children.
And without question, this crisis requires urgent action from all of us.
So do the same thing we've been doing. Just keep on pumping the system full of pigs and oppression.
We've also seen a dramatic increase in drug-related and violent crime nationwide and in Montana since the pandemic.
And maybe criminalizing drugs, criminalizing human beings who are addicted to drugs, creating a penal system that could be compared to the mid-centuries, to the 1500s, to when they're to the Spanish Inquisitions. We have a prison system where they are doing the jail system, where you have no rights once you enter into a facility for incarceration or corrections. You don't have any rights once you're in that dungeon. And then the media, TV shows are doing exposés on prison guards and cops and showing how great they are. And then when a freedom fighter comes along, they want to be upset that I'm a hardcore, diehard mother, right? They want to be so mad that I'm that way. Who are you going to send to Washington? Who are you going to send to governorship? This chump ass Zilla, this guy? The system's broken. Crime's never been worse. Violent crime's never been worse. Drug addiction, child abuse, pornography, child pornography, gambling, it's never been worse. So you know what we're going to do? The same thing we've been doing for 2 centuries. We're going to pack it full of more cops. And of course, then it's going to get better.
Obviously, we all know that Chili would love law enforcement as we know it to go away. And obviously, we all know how he would replace it with his transparency police. And obviously, we all know that that will create more crime and put his transparency police lives as well as the public's lives in danger. But he will do it because he cares. And to show how much he cares, he compares jails and prisons to medieval times and...
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition! Now, old woman, you are accused of heresy on 3 counts. Heresy by thought, heresy by word, heresy by deed, and heresy by action. 4 counts. Do you confess?
I don't understand what I'm accused of.
Then we shall make you understand.
3 times the amount of fentanyl was seized in 2022 compared to 2021.
And the cops are the biggest dealers of fentanyl in America. The #1 drug dealer in America is cops, and he wants to hire more cops. That's a fact. The #1, who was the leader of the Bloods and the Crips that we know from the 80s? Cops were. Who was the leader of the alcohol gangs? It was not Al Capone. It was not Lucky Luciano. The police were the head of the alcohol gangs. How do we know this? From the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which is then going to create the gun control laws of, I believe it's United States versus Miller, 1934, 1936, whatever. So that's going to create the gun control laws, is based off the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And who did the St. Valentine's Day Massacre? Cops. Cops did. The biggest alcohol swindlers in America were these nasty pigs. And you can look that up. Olmsted versus United States, 1927. You can look up the things I'm saying.
I looked it up. Once again, Chili is wrong. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre was perpetrated by men who were dressed as cops, and Al Capone is the one who is thought to be behind it. Olmsted versus U.S. was ruled on in 1928, but the year really doesn't matter. That case was about wiretapping and the legality of using phone conversations gathered from that regarding conviction of conspiracy to violate the Prohibition Act by petitioners, and which had everything to do with federal agents and nothing to do with coppers, gun control, or Chile's misguided facts about history.
So this disgusting politician, oh, we're going to get into it, but hold on.
Nearly an 11,000% increase in fentanyl seizures by anti-drug task forces since 2019.
And then the anti-drug task forces like Bradley Spulgeric in Ironton, Ohio, they take it home. I was just holding it. You think I could have 8 grams of fentanyl and 20 grams of meth and then tell the peace officers, I was just holding it. I was taking it home. That's all I was doing. He's talking about 11,000 increase in fentanyl. I'm talking about a cop who I investigated in Ironton, Ohio last year, who was then a few months later arrested for having 20 grams of meth and 8 grams of fentanyl. And this disgusting politician wants to hire a bunch more pigs. Who's the biggest fentanyl dealer in America? Cops are. The anti-drug task force are the dealers. Haven't we figured this BS out yet? It's such a freaking lie. This guy's sitting up here saying, oh, we got to get more cops in here. They're dealing the drugs, you dunce.
The fentanyl crisis is a direct consequence of our nation's insecure southern border.
No, it's not. It is not. It's a direct consequence of criminalizing drugs. That's what it's a consequence of. You criminalized drugs, which created cartels, and then you stripped us of our gun rights when you prohibited alcohol in 1920. So then you can't drive down the road in your car anymore because the 1925 case of Carroll versus United States says that you can't drive down the road in your car, or one of these pigs can pull you over and search your car because it's an exigent circumstance. You could drive away, and we can't search you then. And how well is it working? How are things going in our country? Alcohol abuse, drug abuse, child pornography, name it. It's all worse.
Chile got to Ironton, Ohio when the investigation was probably already in progress, as an investigation takes time so the DA's office can get all their ducks in a row to cement an indictment. He just heard about all the stuff Brad did from people he interviewed and likely put in complaints about, and is trying to claim the credit. As far as cops being the biggest fentanyl and drug dealers, wrong again. According to Attorney General Merrick B. Garland on April 14, 2023, today the Justice Department is announcing significant enforcement actions against the largest, most violent, and most prolific fentanyl trafficking operation in the world. That operation is run by the Sinaloa cartel and fueled by Chinese precursor chemical and pharmaceutical companies. So, are things really worse, or are we hearing more about the bad things because of social media? People like Chile have been actively protesting any laws they don't like and blaming the police for everything bad in the world. And if we decriminalized all drugs, things would still be bad because humans.
President Biden and members of Congress must secure our southern border.
It's got nothing to do with what's going on in our country. Our country's imploding because of pigs. Every brand of violence, all the drugs, almost everything bad happening in our country is because we gave one class of people sovereign citizenship. They don't have to follow any laws, and there's nobody to check on them. This is a repeat. The fentanyl and the pain pill epidemic going on is a repeat of the 1920 prohibition, where the cops, who have no third-party oversight, were the biggest alcohol swindlers in America. They were the biggest alcohol dealers and smugglers in America. And now the same thing is happening. We can't solve the problem because the anti-drug enforcement are the drug dealers. These pigs here, guarantee you at least 3 of these 4 pigs has a drop gun or a drop drug.
Yes, there are corrupt police officers and corrupt politicians. But Mexican cartels have been smuggling drugs into the U.S. through tunnels under our southern border and in vehicles for a long, long time. However, to Chile, it has been at the behest of law enforcement, right? I mean, who else would do such a thing? Oh, and because he interviewed a supposed ex-cop who claimed to use drop guns and drop drugs, now all police have drop guns and drop drugs. The mind gymnastics Chile employs is staggering.
Now, the safety of our communities, our families, and our people depend on it.
No, it doesn't, though. It doesn't. If you decriminalize drugs, take away the profit motivation for the government to lock people in dungeons, then you don't have a drug problem anymore. Because people then go and get help and they go, man, I'm really craving some more drugs. But there's no one to talk to because right now you might go to jail. We're going to put you in this room and lock you in there for your safety. That's jail.
These drugs pouring into our communities from the southern border.
They're not. They're being dealt in your town by the police. The police are bringing the drugs into your town. The Seabury Commission, the Wickersham Commission, the Knapp Commission, the Mullen Commission, they all say the same thing. The cops are the biggest drug dealers in America.
So these cops bring drugs into town. Where do they get them from? Are they manufacturing them in large warehouses in the middle of nowhere? Are they tarping homes as if those homes are being fumigated a la Breaking Bad and making drugs in them? Are they selling those drugs to people, getting them drug addicted, arresting them, confiscating those drugs, and then the cycle begins again? Seriously, Chile vomits out his twisted anti-cop biased opinions as if they are fact. But we all know the word fact is a foreign one to Chile. Just a thought, I would like to know if the cops forced Chile to make and distribute GHB. I mean, that is considered a date rape drug, right?
Threaten public safety, tear families apart.
Yes, they do. Cops threaten public safety and tear families apart. I agree with you there, Greg. You're correct on that.
And too often leave family members grieving for a loved one.
Exactly. Cops are murdering, raping, and kidnapping our friends and family from the streets and leaving us grieving for our loved ones. He's right about this. Of course, it's a little out of context, but it's true. Right now, are you reeling about driving down the street? Right now, let me come over here. Let me see your comments. Okay. Right now, when you drive down the street, what are you afraid of? The cops. Put in the comment section. Tell me right now, if you drive down the street, what's your number one fear? The cops. Tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, I realize, tell me if I'm wrong. Your number one fear is the cops. When you drive down the road, the only thing you have to fear is the government pulling you over and saying, oh, this vehicle is not safe to drive. We need to impound it. The only thing that we fear as Americans are cops. I got my gun and I'm ordering I got something else coming for self-protection too.
To quote Buzz Lightyear, you are a sad, strange little man and you have my pity. Though I don't pity Chile. I think he's pathetic. When I drive, I don't fear the police because I don't do anything to attract their attention. In fact, the last time I drove and got a speeding ticket was around 20 years ago. I fear other drivers who drive distracted because they don't pay attention to the road and are a threat to others' safety. Hint, hint, Chile.
I'm running for governor, and I'm going to change policing from the top down. We have created a system of oppression where there's no third party to check on what these pigs are doing. There's no third party to check on them. They were the biggest alcohol swindlers, and the Wickersham Commission said, we need a third party. And this is written in 1932, 29, released in 32 and 33. It's as big as like 10 Bibles. That's how big the Wickersham Commission is. And this is the commission that August Vollmer, who was a cop, participated in. And then he'll write the policeman handbook after that, which is to give cops guns because the alcohol gangs that the government created by criminalizing alcohol. Every one of our problems is by the government. The government creates our problems, just like this bird flu of 2020. We're now seeing that the biggest problem in the world is that you were forced to take a medication and people are dying in mass numbers, but they won't show it to us. And the media's got a seal on them. They can't really report it. Only certain journalists are showing it. So let's keep listening to this piece of garbage. If you're in Montana, this is your governor. He wants more pigs. He thinks more pigs is going to make Montana safer.
Chili just loves to spread misinformation, doesn't he? He is slowly using all the conspiracy communities to get attention from like-minded people who will likely give him money so he can keep doing it under the guise of changing the game to fit his narrative. It has been shown that when cities decrease their police, crime goes up because they don't have the manpower to keep the peace effectively. But we all know Chili doesn't want to keep the peace. He wants to rule a state by decree like a king, using his executive power to lead with executive orders.
They've lost. Rather than sitting idly by and wondering when violent and drug-related crime will go away, we are taking action. As you all know, there's a lot in our budget for Montana families. Our budget isn't just about cutting Montana's income and property taxes by over $1 billion and using our surplus responsibly. It's also about making our families and communities stronger. Our budget spurs job creation, boosts education, and opens the door of greater opportunity for hardworking Montanans. But better opportunities, from more good-paying jobs to investments in education to greater access to affordable workforce housing, don't mean much when Montanans look over their shoulders
and see cops, and the cops are hiding, and the cops are trying to get me and charge me and arrest me. And that's what cops do. Look at that cop on the far left with his handlebar mustache standing there. How many people has he cheated? Look at the other cop on the far right with his handlebar mustache. How many people has he cheated? How many reports has he lied on?
worried about the safety of their community.
Yeah, I'm worried about the safety of my community when there's pigs around. Listen, I'm not afraid of people. People think I'm afraid of them. You think I'm scared? I'm damn near 50, but I'm a legit badass. Good luck trying to take me on with your fists. Secondly, though, I'm not going to fight you. I got my gun right here. I'm not afraid of any person. I can fight almost any man one-on-one, and I can do against anybody. And if you come at me too hard, I got my gun. The only thing I have to fear are pigs. That's the only thing I have to fear. I don't have to fear anything else, just pigs. That's all I have to be afraid of, because I'm not allowed to beat them up. I have to let them do things to me.
The pot calling the kettle black is strong with Chili. He lies in court filings. He lied when he was arrested in Las Vegas and said he had no criminal record. He lies as soon as he opens his mouth. If he is such a badass, why did Chili not fight Chad Gu when he had the chance? Oh, I forgot. He had high knee pressure. Chili vomits out a lot of shit, but never cleans up after himself.
That's why building safer, stronger communities is another key pillar of our budget.
So building safer, stronger communities is a pillar of your budget. How are you going to do that?
To make Montana communities safer, we've made addressing this crisis a top priority. Over the last year, I've hosted 8 public safety roundtables around the state. At them, I heard from local officials, law enforcement officers.
Law enforcement. Stop calling them. They're not law enforcers. Nobody has a law enforcement agreement. Nobody. They have a peace officer certificate. Stop it. Like everybody here, you have to tell other people, stop calling them that. They're not law enforcers.
Officers, treatment providers, and nonprofit leaders. They've told me what's working and what's not working, and how we can partner to make our communities safer and stronger.
No. See, stop. We're not partnering. You're just saying you're going to take our money and build more prisons, hire more pigs. That's all you're saying. This isn't a partnership. Like I said, he's deciding. He's the executive in charge. You may not like me. That's fine. He's deciding for everybody. Do you get it? He's just making the decision as the executive. This is the way the budget's going to go. After talking to these people and talking to those people, I'm going to change the budget. For what?
We've also worked closely with Attorney General Knudsen, who's been a real leader in confronting this problem.
Has he? What's his bio? Is he a previous pig?
What we've heard informed our budget for Montana families. To ensure we're cracking down on criminals.
Cracking down. We've been hearing that since the 80s. Cops are cracking down on criminals. Well, you created laws that make us criminal. Then you put us in a dungeon. You make us have driver's licenses. You make us do all these things so that you're always going to be in violation of the law in one way or another. And then you get politicians like Greg Gianforte who will go, cops are cracking down. Are they cracking down? Is that what's happening as you arrest 1% of all Americans?
Our budget supports law enforcement.
Whoa. Our budget supports.
To ensure we're cracking down on criminals, our budget supports law enforcement. To ensure we're cracking down on criminals, our budget supports law enforcement. To ensure we're cracking down on criminals, our budget supports law enforcement.
So this guy started off by saying, myself and all Montanans, we back the blue. No, 50% of Montanans don't. At least 50%. And Idaho, Montana, Oregon, California's pretty much flipped sides. Florida, New York, Chicago, all over the country, people don't like, trust, or respect cops anywhere. So your budget supports the ability for cops to crack down on criminals. But how's that been going? We've been doing it your way for 2 centuries. How's it working? It's not. It's not working. It's not working.
Chili really needs to shut the fuck up and stop telling people what to say and what not to say. He doesn't live in Montana, so he doesn't have a say in what happens there. Chili throws out stats like they are GHB and expects people to swallow them whole to keep them compliant to his opinions. Laws only work when leaders enforce them, and we have seen leaders like mayors, governors, and presidents leading by opinion instead of leading using laws.
Our budget funds new highway patrol troopers, prosecutors, criminal investigators at the Montana Department of Justice. Our budget supports law enforcement. Our budget funds new highway patrol troopers, prosecutors, criminal investigators at the Montana Department of Justice. Our budget supports law enforcement. Our budget funds new highway patrol troopers, prosecutors, criminal investigators at the Montana Department of Justice.
So that you can have more cops hiding on the side of the road to get you. More criminal investigators based on their suspicion. So if crime is rampant, then crime would be smash and grab. You don't need crime investigators for smash and grab. You need a camera. You need a camera system to follow the people who smash and grab. Ah, gosh, Big Brother, if we have access to the cameras, then there's no Big Brother.
The criminal investigation agents will focus on drug trafficking, human trafficking, narcotics, major crimes, and crimes against children.
Okay, so 2 of the 4 were for drugs. Listen carefully.
The criminal investigation agents will focus on drug trafficking,
drugs,
human trafficking,
drugs,
narcotics,
drugs,
major crimes,
drugs,
and crimes against children.
4 out of 5. So it's all about arresting people and catching the bad drug dealer. But there's not going to be any bad drug dealers because drug dealers aren't inherently bad. They provide a service based on supply and demand. But he's going to get them. We've arrested our way out of the drug problem so far, Greg. It's worked out great. Getting more cops, getting more prosecutors, getting more criminal investigators to target narcotics brings Montana more money through the 1994 crime bill, Greg. You can fool some people. You can't fool all of us. The 1994 crime bill, federally, any cop shop that gets an arrest for narcotics, for drugs, for human trafficking, using drugs, they get more money from the federal government. You're a liar, Greg, and you're a piece of garbage. They get more money from the 1994 crime bill. Greg Gianforte is going to get more money for these filthy pigs right here. For them. More money for these guys here. For drug arrests. And so far, have we arrested our way out of the drug problem? Let me know. Just let me know in the comments. Have we arrested our way out of it? Has it worked out just great? Has it worked out great? Has it worked out just great? Arresting our way out of it. Put a 1 in the chat if you know it has not worked great. Put a 1 in the chat if arresting our way out of drugs has not worked. If criminalizing drugs has not worked. This guy, Greg Gianforte, dude, I hope you lose.
Chili is displaying his ignorance full on with the police investigate crimes as if all law enforcement do the same job. Drug trafficking is about drugs. Human trafficking is more about the sex trade than drugs. Narcotics is about drugs. Major crimes don't usually include drugs unless drugs are involved in certain crimes. Crimes against children goes without saying. Those who commit crimes on the daily are generally not drug dealers, nor do they have anything to do with drugs. Chili is so fixated on drugs and drug dealers, which actually makes sense since he accepted a deferment to a drug diversion program, which is an admission of guilt, instead of going to prison for up to 20 years for the 5 felonies he was charged with. Oh, and so Chili can't say that I'm defaming him. I put together a few clips of his lying and saying he has no criminal record and actual evidence that he does.
Narcotics, 2003. Purpose, distribution, for sale, production. This is when I was no-knock raided by Michael Moore, chief of police of Los Angeles. And right here, I was found not guilty. The charges against me were dropped. So when that horrible person from the Masshole report says that I sold the date rape drug, that's literally defamation because I beat the charges. You see? So yeah, that's when I was charged with 5 felonies equaling 20 years in prison.
So then this says, on May 22nd, Defendant Peters live streamed a video to her YouTube channel, Defendant Peters from her home. The title of the video is Chili DeCastro once sold the date rape drug and might be a snitch. Will sue us for mocking him. The link to the channel is here. It's generated 11,000 views, 300 comments, and over $1,000 in revenue for the defendant Peter. In the video, Defendant Peters published the following defamatory statement. Okay, so now, just so you guys know, what a defamatory statement, what it means is this is an outright lie.
Right here, a booking report for the arrest. So we know that this exists because LAPD came back and it's him. Date of birth is correct. The date of arrest is 10/1/2002. The location of the arrest is Hawthorne Boulevard at $500,000 bail. It's a felony charge. We can see that it's a manufacturing a controlled substance and possession of a controlled substance, right? So he's listed as unemployed. He was booked on a warrant. And they go a step further and note that in 2001, the current chief held the rank of captain and was promoted to commander. So one lie that Chili keeps telling around this is that Michael Moore was the detective on his case. And the LAPD actually comes back and says, no, that's not true.
These are outright, made up, fabricated lies. There's no truth to anything that is said right here.
And then there's another charge, I think.
My criminal record?
I'm just looking at what's been presented to me as your
right.
criminal. We run the criminal record on plaintiffs and defendants. We can't run it on
okay,
defendants. We
go ahead.
Information.
Thank you. I appreciate you listing it. Let's see what else is on there.
2002, possession, sale of narcotics, manufacture of controlled substances.
You mean charged with but not convicted?
It says drug court deferred, judgment term successful.
Right. So I was given a diversion program, but I have no conviction of any kind of.
Again, I'm just looking at the.
Right, but I just want to be clear. There's no conviction of any kind of drug record.
It shows drug court deferred, judgment term successful.
Right. So that means it's wiped off my record, but for some reason it's on there.
Well, anybody who gets arrested, that remains in the IIIC.
Okay, but it's not a criminal record. I was charged with a crime and I beat the charge.
Highway patrol troopers will combat violent crime and strengthen our drug interdiction programs. Crimes and crimes against children, human trafficking, narcotics, major crimes, and crimes against children.
Listen to this next part. Listen to this absolute bald-faced lie. Listen to this garbage from this garbage person. Listen to what he says that Highway Patrol is going to do.
And the new Highway Patrol troopers will combat violent crime and strengthen our drug interdiction programs.
So just wrap that around your head real quick. Our new highway troopers will battle violent crime and drug. You're going to park those guys on the side of the road to pull people over for no reason, where you can warrantlessly search their car from a law created by the Supreme Court in 1925 called Carroll versus United States that strips away our Fourth Amendment so cops can search your car so they can find some baby powder or gum or you name it, and they'll say, oh, we think this is meth or fentanyl, impound the person's car, take their children away from them, lock them in dungeons, and later find out it was yogurt. Hiring more pigs is the opposite of what we need. It's the opposite.
Unfortunately, the budget bill that was sent to the Senate does not fulfill our full request for public safety.
For cops. Did you hear that? The bill sent to the Senate does not fulfill enough money for cops. He wants more cops. Montanans, you guys are in trouble.
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
Combating violent crime and building safer, stronger communities will take investments.
Invest in more cops.
Full request for public safety. Let's be clear. Combating violent crime and building safer, stronger communities will take investments.
Investments in getting more cops who are the violence, who are the danger, who are the fear in our country. The worst thing in our country is a cop. I told that pig that I released this morning, cute little girl, 25 years old, real cute. You made the worst choice of your life. You could have chosen to be a prostitute or a stripper and I'd have more respect for you. I'm sorry. It's disgusting. You sign up to be a pig? I don't have any respect for you. Why would I? You're the horrible person in our country. You're the worst person in America.
Oh my God, he is such a whiny, petulant man-child. Police who are the violence, who are the danger, who are the fear in our society. There is plenty of violence, danger, and fear in the U.S. by plenty of other groups. But conveniently, Chile is only blaming the police, which is funny coming from someone who has had at least 20 to 30 self-admitted interactions with the police for laws he has broken. And he shows here how to say you are a misogynist without admitting to be one.
Our budget makes those necessary investments.
More cops. It's not working the way they're doing it. More training equals more violence, more learning how to scream, stop resisting so that it's on the recording so that when other people give their testimony, well, we just heard the cops screaming, stop resisting. And then that's all the jury hears, which is full of Karens and Kevins.
Chile obviously knows how to act for the camera since he is a former actor. He did it with Kate and purposely screamed, "Stay away from me, lady!" to act as if he were the victim. He does it with the police when he yells at and lectures them. He does it all the time. Yes, police do say stop resisting, so it is on camera, so there's evidence for a judge to look at. By the way, resisting arrest under California Penal Code Section 148A PC is a broadly defined criminal offense that makes it illegal to intentionally resist, delay, or obstruct a law enforcement officer or emergency medical technician from performing his or her lawful duties. We all know Chile loves to show his utter lack of respect for law enforcement and the courts. But here, he really shows himself to be a Class A prick by doing so for those who do their civic duty by serving on juries. It's no wonder he can't get respect from anyone.
I urge the Senate to restore the new highway patrol troopers, prosecutors, and criminal investigators that we proposed and Montana needs. Let's get it done. I also want to commend Representative Marta Bergoglio.
She's a cop sucker.
For advocating the use of marijuana revenue to boost funding for law enforcement. Correct.
Oh my God. So if you smoke weed, your tax money goes to cops. I would rather buy my weed on the black market. Listen.
I also want to commend Representative Marta Bergoglio for advocating the use of marijuana revenue to boost funding for law enforcement, correctional officers, and treatment courts.
Unbelievable. You guys keep electing rich people, or the sons of daughters are rich people, or the politician sons or daughters. And this is what you get. This is a rich dude. I'm going to go his biography in a second.
Let's get that done too. Now, I want to invite Attorney General Austin Knudsen to speak about the importance of these investments.
One second. I'm going to cut this off in 1 second. Because I can only listen to about 1 minute of this, and he's such a cocksucker. It's unbelievable.
First of all, I want to thank Governor Gianforte and his staff for putting this together. Thank Colonel Lavin of the Highway Patrol.
I want to thank them for putting this together, that we get more money for prosecutors, which makes the Attorney General's position more powerful. I want to thank the governor for putting more power to me. Now I want to thank the pigs who are going to hire more pigs. That gives me more power, because the Attorney General of Montana is the top cop of Montana.
DCI Major Crimes Chief Lee Johnson, for everything these two gentlemen and their teams are doing to combat crime and get drugs off the street in Montana.
They are the crime. Those cops are the crime. They're the problem. You're not solving the drug problem by getting drugs off the street. It's not solving anything. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's not solving a damn thing. It's not solving anything. It's not solving a fucking thing. Nobody is getting clean from drugs because the cops are... It's so cringe. It's unbelievable listening to this piece of... I turned it off right about here.
Montana. Drugs, and especially fentanyl, are causing a crisis in Montana. And
that Bradley Spoljarek had 8 grams at his house. So a cop in Ohio had 8 grams at his house. No other cops would profit off of the drug industry. None of them. Only Bradley Spoljarek in Ironton.
You heard it here, folks. Chili would rather take his chances and illegally buy potentially laced marijuana that could be harmful to his life than buy it legally and unlaced from dispensaries. Chili is very much out of touch with reality. He has an obsession with calling people like judges copsuckers, yet runs to the police and the courts for every negative thing said about him and every negative encounter he has. Hypocrite, thy name is Chili.
It's resulting in a huge violent crime increase in the state of Montana.
No, it's not. What's resulting in a huge violent crime increase is the criminalization of drugs. You created gangs and drug cartels by criminalizing drugs in Montana. You wouldn't have any gangs or violence in Montana if you decriminalized drugs. So he's up there lying to all the stupid people who are just going to go, oh, okay, more cops and we're going to have less of a drug problem. We've been doing this for 50 years. Nothing's changed. It's 50 years. Nixon declared war on drugs in 1971. It's 2023, 52 years. We've been doing the same fucking thing, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I couldn't even get through this whole press conference.
Well,
I remember when the mob started selling cigarettes when New York raised the prices per pack to $7. Cartels, mobs, and the black market may have started by dealing in illegal items, but they will find things legal or illegal to sell if they can make a profit from it. Gangs are about territory and what can be done in their territory. Those groups will not go away just because drugs are decriminalized. And if Chili is so sick of it, why does he not go to these cartels and tell them to stop? I mean, he is a game changer and known throughout the country, right? What could go wrong?
As the governor said, we know where these drugs are coming from.
They're coming from the cops. The cops are the drug dealers. I'm sorry. If you didn't read the police commissions that are available on deletelaws.com for free, you can read 3 police commissions that are on my website for free. I don't charge a dime for them. Go to deletelaws.com, go to periodicals and download them and read the 3 police commissions. Cops are the biggest drug dealers in America. These are the people bringing in the fentanyl.
This is not a question. They're coming from the southern border.
No, they're not. The cops are bringing them in. The way they get into prisons and jails is through the prison guards. I'm not calling them correctional officers because they don't correct a damn thing. They pad their own pockets. They're parasites.
They're coming from primarily 2 Mexican drug cartels
that you created by criminalizing drugs. You created these drug cartels and you wonder why they're flourishing. You keep on going, more criminalization, more cops. You're building up your army. They build up their army. You decriminalize drugs, there's no place for them to fight. Idiot.
Who are openly operating in the state of Montana.
Oh, just shut up, bro. I'm done with you. Just shut your mouth, dude. You're such a lying fraud. It just makes me sick. It just makes me sick. I saw this and I was like, this is such crap.
Have you ever heard the phrase, that sounds like the pot calling the kettle black?
Stop it. Get some help.
Hit the like button. Just hit the like button.
The following has been approved by Jose Maria de Castro.
Don't get your yay, yay Democrats, yay, yay Republicans. Don't get the truth mixed in with your brainwash that Democrats are going to help you or Republicans are going to help you. Until we have a third party that has a legitimate voice at the table, and it's certainly not libertarians. I mean, it's just so true. I'm sorry. The Libertarian Party, nobody can be the leader. I'm the leader. I'm running for governor, and I'm going to change it from the top down. I'm not getting that real ID. I'm not using the real ID. I'm not purchasing the real ID. I don't subscribe to the real ID, and I will not ever get it. Real ID will not be allowed in the state that I'm the governor. You don't have to have a real ID in the state that I'm the governor. Plain and simple. The real ID card is the absolute devil's mark. 666, number of the beast. It's written right across your forehead with the real ID card. We're heading to a revolutionary war. We can all see it. They're trying to track us through the real ID. You can't travel, you can't bank, you can't get health care. That's what they're trying to do with real ID. Reject it. Openly reject it. And look how dumb the cops are now. They can't get good people to sign up to be pigs anymore, so they're just taking the bottom of the barrel. The prison guards who couldn't pass the test, anybody who will sign up that doesn't have, and now they're changing it where you can have a criminal record because everybody has a criminal record. Everybody, whether that be a traffic ticket, a speeding ticket, a churning ticket, whether that be anything. I mean, it's just so true. I'm sorry. I'm the leader. I'm running for governor, and I'm going to change it from the top down.
Jose Maria de Castro for governor, because he will lead with transparency and truth from the top down. Not paid for by anyone because no one gives a shit campaign.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Farewell.